While I'll explain you what we're going to do today. So you have to understand Artist Chocolate. Artist Chocolate is a company which has started from my own little company, which I was doing basically consulting for everybody. And now it grew into being more in depth into the product and into Artist Chocolate now, being bean to bar, making bonbons, doing consultancy for people, pastry and chocolate. And we're together here in a building together with Klingelhoeven, which is my girlfriend's company. So we do work together because the bonbons that we make, you can actually see them right here, are the ones that we make for Klingelhoeven, and the bean to bar is under my own brand, so being Artist Chocolate, but we will go in depth later on that. There's a lot of advantages in working together as a company because we do use similar machinery, we do use similar equipment, we both need air-conditioned rooms, we both need all of those things. So yeah, there's a lot of advantage to it in just sharing our expertise, knowledge, equipment, all of that. So is there a few people out there already, Ollie?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we only have half an hour. These are the, let's say, restrictions we have to work with today. Roast them. I'm going to show you the oven straight. Thank you very much to Stay at Home with Chocolate. That's a massive thank you for organizing this, let's say, digital festival. Really grateful for that. It's a good measurement, I think, against Corona and keeping people busy, watching a little video. Nice and quick. So, for everybody who's not into bean to bar, it's going to be super interesting. For bean to bar people, you might see a few things that I'm doing differently. Don't hesitate to ask questions. My cameraman for the day, Ali, will redirect those questions to me so we can actually have a little chat about that. So bean to bar, what does it start with? Of course we start with the beans. These are here raw beans, meaning they're unroasted. Yeah? So they have been treated cold in the hardware itself to make sure all microorganisms, being, I don't know, certain insects are dead in there and there's no contamination going further. What we do first, as a first step, you can also see that on my Instagram account, is taking out all the beans which are like badly fermented or flat beans or broken beans which can have bacteria on the inside or which are drier. These are badly fermented beans because they're stuck together, so you don't know if the bean is completely fermented to the center or not. Then you always find little pieces of wood, you find pieces of the bags, you find stuck together things. So all of these things we're going to take out. The fermenting as well, you can see that on here. It's not real fungus if you want, but quite important to get all those things out. So when going from here, normal beans, this is Trinidad and Tobago, so this is the only type of bean that we use, which is not being roasted. What we do, we break them, we leave them to dry overnight, at least 2 days, so if not, they don't pass through our machinery. So it's a bit more difficult and annoying. I'm not going to do my entire line raw, if you want, because it takes more time, more effort as well. Then we send those to a lab to get analysis to make sure that the microbial count is not too high, that we don't have any, I'm saying Salmonella, Listeria, the most common ones, but also they check it on 8 other bacteriologic influences that we can have on our beans. So that's for that. Normally, so we're going to roast them. I'm going to show you the oven straight away. We're going to break them, and then we're going to end up with something similar to this. So if Ali, you want to just take a quick shot on this one. So basically, here we started off with 1 kilo of beans. We roasted them, broke them, and we are left over with 780 grams. So meaning we have 78% of what we started off with. Yeah? And now we still see peel in there, so we're already lost, actually, if you want, 22% just by roasting, by drying them out, by losing about 5-6% of moisture. And then in the end, we're gonna break them again and winnow them. So to remove all the husk you see still in this one, I'm gonna keep it next to it so you can actually see the difference. Yeah, so we have clean nibs. And in this stage, we lose another about 10-15% of it in weight. And so before starting on judging cocoa price and stuff like that, you should know that if you buy cocoa of 10 euros, in the end you're gonna pay, I'm not going to say double, but since everything is gone, the nibs, the moisture, everything else, we end up with a clean product which you want to work with. And the cleaner it is, of course, the more expensive it is, the more effort it takes. But also, you end up with, let's say, 18 to 19 euros per kilo if you would buy a 10 kilo cocoa bean. Good. Something special about us as well is that we always work with cocoa blossom sugar. So this is an unrefined sugar, and before I heard people say like cocoa blossom sugar, it's a palm sugar. Completely true, it is a palm sugar. But please don't go into the details of palm is bad. because the way it's been done, it's more like maple syrup, you know? It's being tapped off of the tree, being dehydrated, and that's it. Nothing else happens to it. So it's an unrefined sugar to start with, which is, yeah, let's say for us, quite important. You have more flavor of the actual sugar. And thirdly, it has a lower glycemic index. So you don't get big sugar peaks and you don't get like energy boost and then falling flat again. No, it's a more, let's say, stable sugar in that sense. But we chose it mainly for the flavor component because it really changes everything, how the cocoa tastes. It's a complete different experience, I'm gonna say. Good. So quickly gonna show you to the oven. So I'll let you follow me. So you'll see we have quite a big production in general. That's because we also do the bonbons. We can just have a show around. So this is our production room where we have everything for bonbon making, for enrobing, for molding. So it's relatively big compared to where I used to be, which was, let's say, a 20 square meter space where everything was together. So that's why we still have a really small oven, and this one we really use for testers. So again, the advantage of working together with Klingelhofer is that we can actually have massive oven wagons and just pop them in the oven, a complete bag at a time almost. So that's a really, really big advantage because in here I can do 4 kilos, so it's literally for 4 trays. It's about 4 kilos, 5 kilos at max, and that's it. So ideal for testing, but that's it. So we chose an oven with a digital thermometer, which has 2 ventilators, so we can really reduce moisture, really have a complete control of what we do with chocolate. So when we roast, we usually first take the measurements of how wet the beans are, and then we adapt our roasting and drying process to that. Beans, what we got in yesterday, for example, not yesterday, actually beans we took with us from Chocoa a couple of months ago, from the Philippines. They were 8.4%, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, so we had to dry them first a little bit before we went to the roasting step. So we really start lower and we end up slightly higher meaning around 120 degrees maximum. And that means our roasting process is long, but in the beginning it's basically 90 to 100 degrees, and only the end, last 10-15 minutes, is going a bit higher. Good. So when we have those, let me just grab the beans, and then we're going to go break. Welcome to, let's say, the noise room. This is how I call it, because everything in here makes a hell of a noise. It's not pleasant to be in here. That's why we have these little guys here, you know, to protect our ears, because if we're working in here for a complete day, you go mental. So mental enough as it is, so let's just not focus on that. Good. So these ones have been broken, and I already have some peels being sucked away. So let me just quickly explain the system for people who are not into bean to bar or thinking of starting it. We got this Ether Widower from Chocolate Alchemy. I should have checked on, let's say, import taxes and stuff like that, which I didn't, so I paid a bit too much. But anyways, it's here now, so let's just forget about that. So advantage is big hopper. I can fit in easily 20 kilos of beans in here, and just do something else meanwhile. Be occupied with the ball mill, with other machines, and let this thing run. So how does this work? A hopper. Here the beans go inside here. You can go on top if you want, Ali. Yeah, and then basically this chute opens up. Here, this is a juicer, which is grinding the beans. They fall through here. Yeah, and here the vacuum of the vacuum cleaner takes away the peel, and then it falls to the bottom. Okay. So looking at what we have here now, we're just gonna quickly put those in. Turn on the machinery, and I'm gonna stop talking because it's gonna be quite noisy. So those go in there. Vacuum cleaner on. I'm gonna turn on the machine. As you can see, it's going pretty fast. You'll see some peel in here. So what we're going to do. I'm just explaining you. We still have some peel in here, but it's already way better than it was before. And now we're gonna pass it again, just to be safe. Vacuum cleaner on. you go. You still have your mental picture from before. You can see that all the big peels have been gone. There's still a little bit left over. But we always check on that on weight with like micro balances to make sure we have around 0.6 to 0.9 in weight of peel. That can still be inside. The small, we pass it again to make sure we're as clean as possible. The reason why is that cocoa beans have fat inside and the shell doesn't. So if you have too much shell, it just doesn't pass through our machines as smoothly as we want it to. While we're in the noise room, let me just explain you quickly about the machines we have here. So this big boy here is our ball mill. So I bought the FBM ball mill. I get a lot of people asking, are you happy with it or not, or this or that. I'm super happy I bought this one. Yes, I know there's a massive amount of brands you can choose from, but for price, quality and quantity, what we make is quite small. It's perfect. I see a lot of my colleagues going with 90 kilos in ball mills or 50 kilos. This is only a 35 kilo, and it might sound not to some people, but it's really not. The reason why I don't need a big one is if we're going to go conching in the end, I don't have the equipment to conch a bigger amount, so then I have to storage it again, melt it down again, and just it's a big hassle for no reason. So if you just want to go in here, quickly explain this machine. So you see all these little balls on the bottom. They're stainless steel balls, which actually create the friction. So the cocoa mass that I put inside is being rolled in between the balls continuously. And once it's smooth enough, this faucet here pumps it up again. So you have a continuous system. And in about, let's say, 2 hours, 3 hours, your mass is completely finished. I say maximum 3 hours. You just never know, especially with the ones which can still contain some moisture, like the raw ones we talked about before. They take a long time in here because you still have to remove some moisture from it. So I'll explain you again why this is the noise room. When you put this one on, I'm going to just put it a bit faster. So this is the maximum speed it can go. So you can just have a look. As far as noise goes, I think you guys understood, right? So from here it goes actually, so the pumping system, then we put it simply, we put it like this. We put our little stone grinder next to it. Yeah, we just switch it around and then it pumps from one vessel into the other one. And we do this for the crunching basically. So we use our stone grinder, which we started with for refining and grinding and everything else. We now just use it as a crunch, which means it's already refined, it's completely smooth. But there's still moisture inside, like 2%, which you need to get out of it. And the flavor development and homogenization of your chocolate still happens in this machine. Yeah? So basically with the ball mill, we're way more flexible than we used to be. We can make chocolate more acidic, less acidic. We can play with crunching times, which before we couldn't do. Good, now let me just take these nibs with me. I'm going to go from the noise room now to our storage room. Quickly, just show you what we do. Storage room we share, of course, with Klingenhoven, as I said before, for which we make bonbons. So just follow me. So, here in our storage room, storage room like any other, I'm going to say. So we do work with other companies for Klingenhoven, for enrobing chocolates. We don't do everything bean to bar. Special reason is that prices in Germany are not as high for bonbons as we want to be able to ask to do bean to bar. If everything would be bean to bar, that would be fantastic. Right now we just can't do that yet because the market's not ready. People are still used to, let's say, bigger brands, globally known brands. I'm going to just say Leonidas and Neuhaus, nothing against, but yeah, people are used to that, so it's difficult to ask.
We have a question. How long do you conch?
The conching really depends on the texture of the chocolate. So it depends on, we do measure until the nib phase, we do measure the moisture. Once it's smooth chocolate, I don't have a machine to measure the moisture anymore. So then it's a visual thing and it's a taste thing. So usually we start with about 18 hours, which is like time enough to put it inside, have it turning, go home, sleep, come back, get things organized again. We have a timer set for that, so 18 hours is the base, but it can go up to 48 hours easily, depending really on the amount which is in there, because we do some small batches as well of like 10 kilos, then it goes quite fast. If it's completely full with 25 kgs, the conch, then it can easily take up to 48 might be a little exaggeration. I'm going to say about 35 hours. It's quite, let's say, standard for us. Okay. Depending if we have a bean that we really want to accentuate flavor, like we make bean to bar for Klingenhofer, and we really want to accentuate acidity, and we had this Madagascar Milo, which is unbelievably acidic. It was a dirty bean, a lot of stones and wood and stuff inside. We lost a lot of production in that, but the flavor of those beans was incredibly acidic, and we really want to accentuate that. So in that sense, we're not going to conch too long. We're just going to conch enough to remove the moisture, but really to keep the flavor as much inside as we want to. And if we walked into the room, then your eye would just tear up because it was that acidic in the air. So it's a love and hate type of thing. Do you want that acidic or not? What we do with Klingenhof is like tastings, so people understand that chocolate can be smoky, can be acidic, can be astringent. So to show people the possibilities of bean to bar, and it's not just sweet, plain cocoa. There's more flavor going on in there.
Another question.
Please.
Some people take the nib directly to melanger. Is there any major difference?
There's a major difference in the sense that we used to do the same. So I'm not going to say it's wrong, or it's good, it's bad. It's a style. It's stone grinding. The thing is, you're refining, you're conching, you're mixing all at the same in one machine. The advantage is you don't pumping over, you have no contamination. It's great. That's the reason why we started like that. The disadvantage is the moment you have your nibs, or let's say your chocolate with your sugar included, the moment you have that ready and refined, yes, your moisture is gone, but also a lot of your flavor is gone because it's been turning for way longer. A full machine, I remember, 25 kg was 3 days of turning until I had the right texture I wanted to. So you either have to judge on flavor or on texture. And in the sense that we didn't want that anymore. We wanted a great flavor was always our first thing. And then you said, yeah, but the texture has to be great as well. And we had a little bit of graininess in the beginning, so then with the ball mill we don't have that issue anymore. We can just go for 2 hours in the ball mill, have it smooth, so texture is top. And then we just go to the mélangeur. And then, yeah, it just depends. 10, 18, 20, 30 hours, depending on flavor. So you have, that's what I mean with a lot more flexibility. It's not a cheap machine, I'm not going to lie about that. I think it's about 22,000 if I'm not mistaken. So it's quite an expensive machine, but it can boost up your production a lot. I see a lot of people doing only mélangeurs and having like 10 in a row. It's an option, it's great, it works. If you have the time, if you have the money, if you have the space especially, because that's also one of our dominant factors. Is there something wrong with mélangeurs? Something wrong with mélangeurs? Not at all. Our testers, our samples only go through mélangeurs, not with ball mill, just to see the basic characteristics.
What brand of stone grinder do you use?
This is a Spectra. It's a Spectra 11, so it's the older model. No, the 11 is a small one, I think. This is a 60 or 65. I don't know what the numbers exactly are. I can do 25 kilos comfortably inside. More than that becomes an issue. Becomes just too. You can't turn up the speed because it just splashes all over the place. Yes, I've had that. It's been on the ceiling and everywhere else. So it's the things you learn. Let's say. Okay.
Little feedback for you. People saying you're a great teacher. Thank you very much for the clear explanation.
Thank you. So back to the storage. Storage is quite simple. All products. We do work with other brands. We have nothing against individual, more airy. You know? And we're going to go to a step called pre-grinding, which I didn't explain to you before. So the nibs, we can put them straight into the ball mill. But then we'll take another hour longer before they completely grind it, because they're quite big, if you can see, compared to the little balls. You know, not all of them smoothly run through it. So what we do is we use a pre-grinder, and this is, again, we're not a big company with a shitload of money and everything you want. No, we're just small, passionate chocolate people. Basically, that's what we are. That's what we do. So we took this nut grinder. We bought it originally. I think it's from India, if I'm not mistaken. But then there was a guy in Belgium importing them, Chocolate World, which most people should know, I think, doing them, so we bought it through them. FBM also has one which is a bit more adjustable and stuff like that, but also double the price. So we had to make a choice somewhere. So what happens here, same like with the winnower, we're going to put just the nibs in here. Well, switch it on. In here there's two, let's say, plates grinding each other. And you're going to just... So what happens here, you have your first mass actually coming out. So cocoa butter is already melted a little bit. And you can see it goes quite fast now. So again, it's something which goes fast, which I can just leave running, and every 5 minutes add another 3 kilos to it. Let's just keep this running through. Yeah, there we go. So it doesn't look that appetizing. I know it looks like shit, literally, but it's for us a really handy machine because we're saving a lot of time again. Is it a necessary machine? Not at all. It's something I think this was before the ball mill, this was the last machine we bought. Just because it's small, it's compact, I can just easily put it underneath or inside a cupboard or something like that. Super handy, super simple in use, and that's basically why we bought it. So yeah. Really cool machine, and from here we go to our mélangeurs because we're still doing testings right now. I'm going to leave that here for a second. And as I said to you before, we are testing mélangeurs. So this is the Spectra 11, the small ones. For people thinking of which one should I buy one without the engine which you can go slower or faster. I thought in the beginning, oh, super important, and this is the truth of the matter is, I think this was 600 euros. With this, you pay 1,000 euros with shipping in it. There's no reason, really. Buy a cheaper one, take a little bit more time. For testers, you don't need to have things running so fast. If you just want to go over here, Ali. So what you can see inside here, this has been turning since, let me just look at the clock, since about 12 hours, with the sugar already inside. So that's sample number 1, and in the lids I put little holes inside, okay? Because if you're going to put it at maximum speed and you leave it all night to turn, it's going to splash all over the place, so you want to put your lid on top, but you also want your moisture to go out. So just put a few holes in there, moisture goes out, your chocolate is smooth, you have no issues anymore. Done. Question?
We have another question. Any idea of Micron Size after pre-grinding?
Yes, actually Micron Size, whether I put my little thing here?
Here, here,
I don't know.
here.
Ah, there. Okay, so here, this little thing, it's, I don't know where I bought it anymore, I have it since the very beginning. So Micron Size, this one goes from 50 to 0. We're always trying to be at least below 25. In this case, it's always quite difficult. With stone grinders, if you fill them up to the max, my experience is you don't get below that. With small quantities in stone grinders, you are able to do that, but you really have to pass it through the sieve. After the ball mill, we're easily under 20 microns. It's so good, so fast, it's so clean. Yeah, there's no issue at all. So in that sense, Micron Size we have to be for our feeling, for our texture. We want to be below 20. Once that's good, it's fine. We're not going to go below 15, below I don't know what I hear everywhere. It doesn't matter. What we say below 20, and then we stop it because that's the flavor of the cocoa that we want to bring forward. If we really think like, ooh, this can use a bit more conching or the flavor is not developed enough, then we leave it to conch a bit longer. But refining, we want to get it out of the machine, let's say, as fast as we can.
And after the pre-grinding?
After the pre-grinding, I have no idea. Because actually, with the pre-grinding, what I didn't show you, I'm going to show you. Because let me just get this one loose so you can actually see the inside of it. If I can get it loose. There we go. So, these are basically those two plates turning together. So then you can just see the inside of the machine. After the pre-grinder, it's really grainy still, and you can still feel it. You can still call it, I'm going to say a classical, old-school Mexican chocolate if you want. It's really still, and you can still see it on my fingers as well. It's not ground. And what you can do with these ones is I just put these two rings in between, or one of them in between. And then you have actually this particle size. It goes through way faster, especially with the raw. I have to do this because they're just too wet to get them through. Even after 2 days of drying, I have to put that, if not the machine's blocking. So that's like one of those things you have to just really, take care of. That's it. So particle size after here, I don't know. I really couldn't be able to tell you. I didn't measure them. I can't measure them because it's maximum 50 microns. So that's just too difficult for me.
Thank you very much for the frank commentary on price and value.
No worries. So we have those chocolates turning now. We have 2 other ones which we're gonna work on later. I quickly want to show you again the cocoa blossom sugar, because one thing I forgot to mention if you're talking about humidity is cocoa blossom sugar is, let's say, 2 or 3% more humid than plain sugar. We did tests on that, and I heard a lot of people like, oh yeah, with caramelized sugar and unrefined sugar, our machines block. It's true, but that's why we're so, let's say, I'm going to say technical, if not to say idiots about, or so focused on the humidity in chocolate. Because if you reduce your humidity in your cacao 2% lower, you can actually work with pretty much any sugar you want. The problem is that if you don't measure it and you're at, let's say, 7% and you get it through your machines, you're working with these sugars, the end result is going to be 7.5% of moisture, and that's going to stuck the sugar together in lumps like these ones. And getting those ones stuck from the bottom of your punch or your pre-grind or stuff like that, it's not pleasant. It's annoying when your machines block, when it's like a thick crust on the bottom, and yeah, just a big hassle. So that's why a lot of people, in my opinion, use plain sugar. Advantage of plain sugar, it brings out more of your acidity. Disadvantage, it has no taste but sweetness. So yeah, it's a choice we do. So we're going to go to the products. We'll do 5 minutes of our little. Actually, moisture meter. If people don't have this, I'm not an ambassador or anything for these brands. I'm just saying, talking about moisture, buy one of these things. It's not expensive. It's one of those things which was used for grains and stuff like that, but they now have one since a couple of years for coffee and cocoa. Just set your program to either Arabica or whatever, or roasted or unroasted. And the last program here, program 6, is cocoa beans. So that's how we measure our moisture and how we really super control everything as much as we can. I'm going to give you the example with these ones here. I'm going to call them the yellow ones. Thank you very much, Cavadon Farms, for these samples, but I cannot pronounce this. I cannot pronounce regular harvest I can pronounce, but I challenge you to pronounce this in the proper way. I will not try. Anyways, good. So let's say the yellow one, how I call it. Yeah. So we were at 8.5 of moisture in the beginning. Then the nibs were 7.1. Yeah, after roasting and after first cracking. And then the day later, so plus 24 hours, all of a sudden we dropped at 6.4. So if we're still above 7%, forget it. I'm not going to get them through my machines. I'm not going to try it. So we need to be at around the 6 to 6.5% of moisture, or even lower. Then I'm really happy with that. So that's just how maniacal we are about moisture, because we have to work with it. We want to work with a different sugar, and that's the thing. So.
Do you have any brand of moisture measuring machines?
I'm using this one because again, it was not too expensive. It's Will or Willy or Wiley, or I don't know how you say it, but you can easily find this online. Just type into Google. You see this little thing. Make sure it's the coffee and cocoa one, not the grain one, because they have different ones, of course. Super easy. It comes in this like little protective case, so if you're traveling, it's what a lot of people use in before shipping. So because they have to take measurements before shipping and all grains and stuff like that. So super handy, super easy, not expensive. It's good to have, to just control your shit and know what you're doing every time. The reason we do that as well is because we're micro batch, and if you have a complete bag of, let's say, 72 kilos coming in, I can't guarantee everything will be the same. So I'm trying everything in my power to make sure everything stays the same. So we do the same batch of sugar. We don't switch around with, oh no, a year later. We can't do that, because then the sugar also is different. Then the beans are dry or not, or so we really have to focus on what can we do to make it as standardized as possible for any bean to bar world. So for that reason, we measure on temperature like idiots. We measure on moisture like idiots. We're quite restraining ourselves to making sure we have a good quality product in the end. Talking about a good quality product, actually, so the volumes you quickly saw in the beginning. Quickly going to run through actually our current line of tablets. So going to start with the percentages and go up. So everything we do is also vegan and gluten-free, certified, because we do have them tested. Things like milk powder or stuff like that. We're peanut-free right now. Maybe that will change in the future, but then we have to change our packaging and just really market that it's a possibility. So now we have a possibility of gluten inside. There's a possibility of soy inside, because we do work with different things. So we want to make sure no one gets ill. But in lab tests, they can't measure those amounts, so it's really minute, if there would be any in it. So starting off with our vegan milk chocolate. So this is we use the beans of India Induki Hills from Go Ground. These ones come. We get delivered, I think, for most of these origins from Silva Cacao. So a big thanks to Catherine. and the crew, let's say, for supplying us with beans so fast, so good, really traceable. Yeah, just good quality, great to work with you guys. As you can see, so packaging says everything. It's gluten-free, it's lactose-free, it is vegan. So what we did here, we used oat milk and a little bit of almond for the fattiness of it. Of course, coconut sugar, and we add a little bit of jasmine tea because oats can be quite in your face flavor-wise, and I don't want people to eat muesli bar, then you should buy a muesli bar, you know. So if we want people to enjoy chocolate, you need to taste the cocoa. Yeah, of course, the sweetness comes through, but the oats were a bit too dominant. Some people liked it, some people hated it, so we said let's play around with it. We're pastry chefs, we're chocolatiers, so let's make a recipe out of it. And that's why we started adding a touch of salt and a little bit of jasmine tea, and it really gets something really floral. So I'm going to quickly give a little piece to Ali, and he will be able to tell you how delicious it is. I'm not going to say anything else there. Yeah. So that's one of our, I really like it because it's just different. It's not just because it's different, because it's actually nice. I'm not a milk chocolate lover at all, but it's super smooth, it's fatty, it's round, it's an indulgent type of chocolate. I really enjoy eating that one.
Great.
Okay. Any other comments but great, Ali? Or?
Very smooth, very creamy.
Okay.
And I like milk chocolate actually, so
okay, well,
it's awesome.
So remember that, even for milk chocolate lovers, it's a great thing. Second one, we're going to go, it's 69%, so it's an India Eduki as well. So we devised that 30 kilo batch that we got from them into a milk, which is limited edition because we only have 15 kilos of end product, and of the dark chocolate we have a bit more. Here we made a 69 just to honor the number 9 or 6, however you want it, in Indian culture, which is a divine, perfected number, as they say. We explain it on the back of the packaging, look it up online. There's a lot of information about that. So again, coconut blossom sugar, 69%, slight acidic, red berry fruits coming through, but still you have that slight licorice aftertaste of the coconut blossom sugar. I must add, coconut blossom sugar does give you a development, let's say, in taste, which in the long run, which is quite interesting to see. So the licoricness will go down in the long run, and you'll get a more deeper caramelized flavor the longer you leave it there. Okay. So then we go to let's say our unroasted batch, what we just saw over there as well. We still have like half of a batch to do with that one. 72%. It's an organic chocolate. It's a vegan chocolate. We're not going to go for organic labeling, so we will change our labels to remove the organic part on the front, because apparently people take offense to that if you don't have the European flag on that. It's fine. We'll just change our labels in that one. Unroasted, really interesting as well. I'm going to give you another little piece to taste. And I'm not going to tell you anything what you should taste, Ali. Yeah? You can just taste it and tell people what they should expect from this type of bar. So unroasted, which gives you a completely different flavor profile than a normal cocoa. It's a Trinidad and Tobago, it's a Trinitario from those islands, so Trinitario from Trinidad and Tobago, which I think is a nice little togetherness, let's say, of all those things. So Ali, please.
Interesting fruity at the beginning.
Okay.
But not too much, just very slightly. And a good chocolate, a rich chocolate taste at the end, I would say. Maybe a little bit different than a regular chocolate. I don't know exactly how to explain that taste. Maybe
for people who wouldn't know, Ali is not a chocolate maker. We don't work together. Just a good friend, and so explaining chocolates for him is maybe not the easiest. So a chocolate flavor, it's very rich. I have to say, very 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 delicious. Not too dark because it's very has a light fruity touch to it, but it goes off at the end, you know, like so it's the beginning fruity and at the end it's more rich chocolatey. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, if you do unroasted, you will have more flavor of your acidity of your cocoa coming through, which is also a bit our goal. We didn't expect the spiciness to be in it, like there's some herbal notes going on in it, which is quite interesting. And grassy, I think someone told me. I don't really like the word grassy, I don't know why, but still, it's a special chocolate, and it's one of the chocolates that myself, I don't know if I love it or hate it. It's one of those different types of chocolates. Going through our fourth bean we chose for, and that's actually one we bought last year on Chocoa, not this year, but last year. on the auction. So this is the Mava Orange from Madagascar. So we didn't choose for Akasson. Sorry, Mathieu, we didn't choose for your beans in this case. We didn't choose for Milo. There's a lot of choice in Madagascar, but these will just have a different flavor for us, which work best with cocoa blossom sugar. And in the auction, we supported people of the plantation to have actually a water pump there. So all the profits went to the plantation straight away of the bag we bought from that. So it's also more of a social thing, helping people out in the plantation, giving back what we get from them, which is great cocoa beans, basically. Chocolate, which runs really well. So this and the India, I think, are the ones that most people, let's say, like the most, because they're a bit closer to what people can associate with dark chocolate, but with a special touch, of course. And then we go to my favorite, which is in Ecuador. I got a lot of comments on this on fairs, because Ecuador is apparently an origin which is not always appreciated, or not always tasting nice, or not always, I don't know what people have for or against Ecuador. We don't really choose on origins, we choose on flavor, which our suppliers know. And this one for me was a big surprise, because I wanted something with a bit of smokiness, even though people see it as an off flavor, but light smokiness, I really enjoy it. I think I'm not going to say a manly chocolate, I want to be labeled as a sexist here, but it has a nice smokiness, it has character, it has acidity, it has fruitiness, it has a depth. For me, it's what a chocolate is supposed to be like. It's super nice.
How is cocoa percentage selected for each origin of chocolate?
So for tests, we always start off with a 66%. Quite standard, quite basic. Depends if we do it for one supplier, for example, and we're testing for a complete week only cocos, then we might go to a 70 or 75, but just so we all have a plain playing field. And then we really look at it like, oh, does the sweetness come through a bit too much here? Oh, this is nice cocoa flavor. What do we want from this? We want to emphasize it or push it down a bit. And then we're really going to play around. So we make 2 or 3 tests. First, we make one test. We say, yes, we want to experiment further with these cocoa beans. Once we have those cocoa beans, then we're going to say, okay, the first week, we're going to just sample and make a 60, a 70, 80%. With cocoa blossom sugar, because that does have a big impact in the end. And then we basically taste, ask our family, friends, have a taste, what do you taste? Do you like it? Because in the end, I'm not my own customer, you know. I am, because I eat way too much chocolate, but hey, it's for other people, so people have to like it in general. So we always ask non-professionals to taste our chocolate, our samples, and see what their reaction is. And sometimes it's completely contrary to what we believe, or what we think of that the chocolate tastes like. But in the end, we're still a company and we have to sell chocolate. So if people say, "Ooh, no, I don't like that chocolate," even if I like it a lot, the vision of the chocolate of the company is still the same. It's cocoa blossom sugar. If people say, "I don't like cocoa blossom sugar," yeah, well, those are things I would not be able to change. Or I don't like this origin, or I don't like this country. I have no message for you. I cannot talk to you about that, because that's your opinion. It's fine. But talking about tastes, we do listen to other people a lot in defining our percentages. And like you see, we have like, I'm going to say 3 within the 70% range, so 69, 72, 76. It might seem like a really small difference to a lot of people, but it does make a massive impact in the end. If it's either in smoothness, if it's in flavor profile, if it's in the sugar coming through or not, it can make a big difference. Yes. Percentage is one thing. Adding cocoa butter, we add 2 to 5% in maximum cocoa butter. Talking about dark chocolates then. Just to make sure that we can work with it. Because if not, if they don't go through our tempering machines or stuff like that, it's really difficult for us. So that's a big story, let's say on calculating recipes and making sure they're nice for everybody to taste and that people can actually relate to them. Because going too special, like I see a lot of people going way beyond flavor profile, and they're like, yeah, but would I eat more than a small piece of that? And if the answer is no, then for me it's not my chocolate. I like to eat 2-3 pieces and I really enjoy it. Because chocolate is still an enjoyable product, it's not only for tasting. Tastings are interesting, but not only. So percentages are basically, this is with our thought process in the back of our heads, saying like, this is what we want, and then connecting with people and see what they think of it. That's basically it. So quick going back to the last one. So here, this is the Ecuador. Got a lot of good comments on this. This is also from Silva Cacao. If people would be interested in it, really try it. It's a really nice one. With it samples with it with plain sugar, which is super nice. The cocoa blossom sugar, I think the depth comes through way more even. A slight earthiness, slight licorishness comes through it. It's a super deep chocolate. I think great for tasting, but also for myself, I'm going to say this little indulgent piece of chocolate that I really enjoy. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys have more questions about bean to bar, what machines to buy, what beans to buy, where to get them from, where to buy our chocolates, don't hesitate to catch up with me on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a Facebook page as well, I think, yes. Online, we're still working on our page to be able to buy straight from our own website, so we're still working on that. That's why we're a bit in the shit with the entire Corona thing. Webpage not finished, consultancy jobs are cancelled. Very few shops have our bars lying around, so this is a bit of our issue right now with Corona, but everybody has their own. So reach out and let's get together, let's talk and see what we can do for you and what you can do for us. So hope you enjoyed it and see you guys later. Cheers, bye bye.
Bye bye.